unexplainable feeling. Hey guys, so my name is Courtney Leeper. Some of you may know me off of Instagram as Body by Courtney, but today I'm actually going to share my fitness story. I'm getting countless emails asking, how did you get into bodybuilding? What's your story? And I always wondered, why did they want to know my story? And then I looked up other people's fitness stories, and they're just amazing, and they're so motivational. And so I want to take my story and hopefully motivate all of you. So I'm going to show you guys what I looked like 3 years ago. This is me. I don't know if you guys can see this very well. Hopefully you guys can. But I was 230 pounds. That was the beginning, or beginning-ish, middle-ish of my senior year of high school. Actually, it started in high school. I was not the nicest person to be around, actually. I was pretty obnoxious and really into myself, and I was just basically a walking disaster. I wouldn't say that I was a total loser in high school, but I was talked about, made fun of, and I was also a bully. I went throughout high school with a great group of girls that I would never take back because I had the best high school experience ever. But I really wish I would have changed the way that I treated people around me or the way that I presented myself a little better. At the end of my senior year, I was in a relationship, and I had no doubt that this was going to go further into the future. So I graduated while being in a relationship and decided to go to college. I attended PCI Academy up in Ames. I was going to be a cosmetologist. I was really, really good at that. So I attended, my classes, moved up to Ames, still in that relationship, and then it just started getting really toxic. We fought more, there were rumors. He was still in high school and I was in college, so we were in two separate worlds. There was a time where I just felt so anxious that I actually just couldn't breathe, and my body got super numb and I couldn't even think, I couldn't even speak. My mom knew about it. She knew I was super anxious. She knew I was super stressed about school, work, my apartment, paying bills, because being a freshman in college, all you are is stressed. You're like a walking stress ball. It was very toxic. It was so toxic that I actually lost a lot of friends. I lost my best friend, and I wasn't able to talk to anyone about my problems, so I felt really alone. It was a night that I needed to go to work. Well, I was sitting down and I just had a mental breakdown. I mean, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't talk. My lungs, they basically stopped, and my roommate was luckily home, and she called 911, and they arrived, and I was admitted to the hospital up at Ames, where I was being treated for, my anxiety. My mom arrived, and I was just a mess. I mean, she walked in, and it was like she knew that something was wrong. Then next thing I knew, I was being taken out of school. I was being taken out of my apartment. I was basically having all my independence that I had worked 4 years in high school for taken away just like that, because I couldn't control my emotions and I couldn't control what I was feeling. I moved back home with my parents, and again, I relapsed back into that really bad relationship. It was super toxic, always fighting, always, cheating, and constant rumors and just lies. It was just built on lies. Started working a full-time job. I lived with my parents, and I partied nonstop. I was drinking every single night. If it wasn't drinking, it was out partying. If it wasn't out partying, it was eating bad food. If it wasn't bad food, I was laying in my bed being a bum, because at that point I just didn't care about my body, and I didn't honestly care about life. While doing that, I was very lonely. I didn't really have friends, so I just had a mental breakdown. A few days roll by, and I just see all these pictures of him with girls, and it just made me really unhappy because I didn't look like these girls. These girls were super skinny and they were really pretty, and I was 230 pounds with, you know, short dark hair and, you know, piercings, and I just did not feel pretty. I was not comfortable in my own skin. At that point, I just had a big mental breakdown, and I looked at myself and I said, I don't want to be here. My parents got me into a therapist. One day where I went in there and I just felt so lonely. I remember that morning perfectly. I woke up and I got on the scale and I weighed 5 more pounds, and you know, at that point, at that time, I didn't realize it could have been undigested food. It could have been water weight. But I was just sitting there thinking, wow, how did you gain 5 pounds? I went to my therapist and I told her, you know, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't see a point in me living here. I don't see a point in me trying anymore. No one cares for me. I feel like I'm lonely. I feel so alone and I want to leave. That day was really emotional. Sorry, I'm not trying to be emotional about this, but it feels like it was just yesterday. I just remember the look on my mother's face when she asked, why would you want to do that to yourself? And I said, I don't know. It's the way I feel. I'm not happy in my body. I'm not happy with my life. I feel worthless. I was court ordered to go to a mental hospital up in Mercy in Mason City, and I was to be helped. I wasn't able to actually be taken up there by my parents. I had to be escorted by a sheriff, which I've never had to go through before, so I felt like I was in trouble. So that day I was getting ready to leave, and of course my parents were there to say goodbye to me, and I remember just staring at them. I saw the look on their face, and it wasn't a disappointed look towards me. It was more of a, I'm disappointed in us because we couldn't help her. And that was a really heartbreaking moment for me. Everyone hits rock bottom, because once you hit rock bottom, there's nowhere else to go except up. From there on, everything was just gonna go up. You know, I went to therapy sessions. I met people who had the same problems that I had, shared things that I probably wouldn't share even with my best friend. So then one day my therapist actually talked to me, and he was like, you know, how do you feel about going home? And I was just so happy. I'm like, yes, I want to go home. I need to go home. That next day my parents arrived, and it was like the world was being lifted off my shoulder. Right when I walked out of those doors, I told myself, okay, this is it. This is your time to let everything go and just start fresh. You're a brand new person. That next morning I started to work out, and I'm not even kidding you, the moment I stepped on a treadmill, I just burned off all my anger. I was so angry with the world and with my body, and just wanted to get all that frustration out, and I fell in love with the gym. I told myself, okay, I'm going to work towards a goal every single week. I'm not going to focus on the weight. I'm going to focus on the way I look and the way that I feel. So every week I looked in the mirror. Every Friday, I remember every Friday at 3 p.m. I looked in the mirror and I gave myself compliments. And I told myself, this is what you're doing right, and this is what you need to work on. And I never, ever, ever sat there and called myself ugly again. I never degraded my body the way I used to. After a few months, I started seeing results. I moved up to Ames a few months after. When I stepped into my new apartment, I was like, wow, like this is it. Like, I'm gonna do great things. I know I am. And at that point, I lost 45 pounds. I met who is now currently my boyfriend today, Chad. We were, the moment we met, it was like I knew him my whole life. I mean, we were best friends. We did everything together. We shared everything together. And we laughed until we peed. I mean, I've never met someone who can make me laugh as hard as I have. And he took me to my first bodybuilding show, where I fell in love with bodybuilding. we arrived, and you know, at first I was like, oh, I don't really think this is what I want to do. I don't know, I don't think I'm gonna like this. And then I remember standing outside the doors, and these girls walk out, and they were just sassy and, you know, amazing and sparkly and fit, and I was like, I want to do this. So then the day after, I was like, okay, I want to do this, Chad. And, you know, at first he was kind of like, oh, she's not going to do it. And I'm like, no, I'm going to do this. Like, this is going to happen. This is a goal for me. And a year later, I was a bikini competitor. I stepped foot on stage for the very first time May 14th. And at that point, I had lost over 115 pounds. And, sorry, I'm getting really emotional. And I felt like I was on top of the world. It was an unexplainable feeling, because every hard-working day that I had, every night that I cried myself to sleep, every day that I sat there and I cried because it hurt and it was too hard, paid off. Being up on that stage, it's not about the attention, it's about showing off your accomplishments. I wouldn't care if there was one person in the row or 50 million. The fact that I got up on the stage and I showed off what I've been working for 3 years was the best prize I could ever get. And I get the question, Courtney, why don't you charge people to personal train? Why don't you charge people for your meal plans? You do realize you're giving them your time, all the time that you have and that you've invested into this, you're just giving it away. I just say, well, some things in life are free. And they kind of look at me like, what? And I'm like, well, the meaning behind that is, you know, you can give for free. It doesn't have to come at a price. I will never, ever, ever charge someone for wanting to change their lifestyle or for wanting to better themselves. I will never charge for that, because that is priceless. That's what I want to do. I just want to inspire people. I don't believe in making a dime off of just a stupid little workout plan that you could probably find on Google. Looking back at who I was in high school and who I am now, I wouldn't change a thing about what I did. It made me who I am today, and it has not only changed my life, but everything that I've been through has changed other girls' lives. That is the best accomplishment I could ever ask for. Not everyone comes from a good place with lifting. Some people start at the bottom, some people are already there, but I'm the person who started at the bottom, and I went through hell, and I couldn't be more thankful for that. I hope that you can take your story and inspire others and just help someone in need. Thank you for subscribing and for liking and for sharing my posts. I am truly, truly, truly blessed with, so I do appreciate it, and I love you all.